Suzanne or Susie Streeter and Susie's friend Stacy McCall in Springfield, Missouri on June 7th, 1992. While their vanishing has garnered significant attention, the details of their lives and the context of Springfield at the time are equally compelling and provide critical insight into the case. Cheryl Elizabeth Levitt was born on November 1st, 1944, and was 47 years old at the time of her disappearance. She was a hard-working and independent woman who had established herself as a successful cosmetologist in Springfield. Cheryl was known for her outgoing personality, dedication to her craft, and her love for her family, particularly her daughter, Susie Streeter. Cheryl had recently purchased a modest but well-maintained home at 1717 East Delmar Street, located in a quiet, middle-class neighborhood. She had meticulously decorated and maintained the house, creating a comfortable and inviting space for herself and Susie. Cheryl's personal life was marked by resilience. She had been through a divorce but maintained a close bond with her daughter. Her dedication to her work and her efforts to provide a stable and loving home for Susie were evident to those who knew her. Despite her busy schedule, Cheryl was known to be friendly and well-liked by her clients and neighbors. She had recently begun a new chapter of her life in her Springfield home and seemed optimistic about the future. Suzanne Elizabeth Streeter, commonly known as Susie, was born on March 9th, 1973. At 19 years old, Susie had recently graduated from Kickapoo High School, where she was well known and had a reputation for being outgoing and vivacious. Susie had aspirations of becoming a hairstylist like her mother and planned to attend cosmetology school in the near future. Susie was described as bubbly and sociable, with a rebellious streak that sometimes caused tension between her and her mother. Despite occasional disagreements, Cheryl and Susie shared a close and loving relationship. Friends and classmates remembered Susie for her engaging personality and distinctive sense of style, which often reflected her creative and independent spirit. She enjoyed spending time with her friends and was known for her love of music and social gatherings. On the evening of June 6th, 1992, Susie had been celebrating her high school graduation with friends, marking an important milestone in her life. She was looking forward to her future, including her plans to follow in her mother's footsteps in the beauty industry. For the third of the Springfield Three is Stacy Kathleen McCall, also 18 years old at the time of her disappearance, who was born on April 23rd, 1974. A classmate and close friend of Susie's, Stacy was described as sweet, caring, and responsible. She was known for her quiet demeanor and her close-knit relationship with her family. Stacy had also recently graduated from Kickapoo High School and was excited about the next chapter of her life. Stacy had plans to attend Southwest Missouri State University, now just Missouri State University, in the fall, and had aspirations of pursuing a career in business. She had a strong sense of responsibility responsibility and was described by her family and friends as someone who was dependable and thoughtful. Stacy's family played an active role in her life, and she often spent time with them when she wasn't with her friends. On the night of June 6th, Stacy had been celebrating graduation with Susie and other friends. Initially planning to spend the night at another friend's house, Stacy and Susie ultimately decided to stay at Susie's home on East Delmar Street to avoid waking up early for a planned trip to a water park the next day. Now, before we delve into the rest of the disappearance, I do think it's important to sort of give you like the scope of the location that this was all set in. So, of Springfield. So, Springfield, often referred to as the Queen City of the Ozarks, was a growing community in the early 1990s with a population of approximately 140,000. Known for its friendly residents and small-town charm, Springfield offered a sense of security and community to those who lived there. The city was a hub for education, commerce, and culture in the region, home to several colleges and universities, including Missouri State University. The local economy was supported by industries such as healthcare, education, and manufacturing, providing a stable environment for its residents. Despite its reputation as a safe and welcoming place, Springfield was not immune to crime. The city experienced occasional incidents of theft, burglary, and other offenses typical of communities its size. However, violent crime was relatively rare, and the disappearance of 3 women from a quiet residential neighborhood was unprecedented. The incident shocked the community and shattered the perception of safety that many residents had enjoyed. On June 6, 1992, Susie and Stacy, both recent graduates, were celebrating their graduation. The evening began with parties as the 2 friends joined their other classmates to commemorate the milestone. They attended multiple gatherings in the Springfield area, enjoying a festive and carefree atmosphere typical of such celebrations. Initially, Susie and Stacy planned to spend the night at a friend's house. However, those plans changed as the nights progressed. After leaving one of the final parties around 2 a.m. on June 7th, they decided to go back to Susie's house at 1717 East Delmar Street. The decision was made out of convenience. They wanted to avoid waking up early to meet their friends for a planned trip to Whitewater, a popular water park in nearby Branson, Missouri. Cheryl Levitt, Susie's mother, had spent the evening quietly at home. Known for her hardworking and independent nature, Cheryl had recently finished a full day of work as a cosmetologist and likely spent her time unwinding. By all accounts, she was last heard from around 11:15 p.m. on June 6th, when she spoke with a friend on the phone. Nothing appeared unusual during that conversation, and she was believed to be preparing for bed. Susie and Stacy arrived at Cheryl's home sometime between 2 a.m. It is presumed that the 2 young women settled in for the night, joining Cheryl at the residence. The neighborhood was quiet, and no disturbances were reported by nearby residents. On the morning of Janice McCall became concerned when Stacy failed to show up to their planned trip to Whitewater. Janice called Stacy's friends and eventually learned that Stacy had decided to stay at Susie's house. When repeated attempts to contact Stacy by phone were unsuccessful, Janice and her husband decided to visit the house on East Delmar Street. What they found was deeply unsettling. Cheryl's house was eerily quiet, and there were no immediate signs of anyone inside. All three women's vehicles were parked outside, indicating they had returned home. The front door was unlocked, and inside the scene appeared oddly normal at first glance. However, certain details hinted that something was wrong. First, the women's personal belongings, including purses, wallets, and keys, were all still inside the house. Second, Stacy's clothing from the previous night was neatly folded, suggesting she had changed into more comfortable attire or pajamas. Third, the family dog, Cinnamon, was inside the house, seemingly agitated. And fourth, there were no signs of forced entry or a struggle. Adding to the mystery was the presence of a broken porch light. A neighbor later reported cleaning up the glass, thinking it was a minor incident unrelated to anything serious. This action inadvertently disrupted a potentially critical piece of evidence. When Janice McCall and others could not locate the women, they contacted the Springfield Police Department later that day. The initial response was subdued, as there was little evidence to suggest foul play. However, as hours turned into days, the case began to take on an ominous tone. The investigation into the disappearance of the three women began with a thorough search of the residence. As I said earlier, law enforcement officers found no signs of a struggle inside the house. The unlocked door and the untouched state of the women's belongings suggested that they had not planned to leave voluntarily for an extended period. Detectives also noted that the television was left on, further indicating that the women had been interrupted during routine activities. Police canvassed the neighborhood, interviewing neighbors and potential witnesses. Some reported seeing unfamiliar vehicles in the area, but these leads did not yield concrete results. The broken porch light was scrutinized, but with the glass already discarded, its significance could not be fully determined. Investigators theorized that the light might have been broken intentionally to lure someone outside or to obscure visibility, but this remained speculative. Janice McCall, frustrated by the lack of immediate progress, took an active role in publicizing the case. She distributed flyers, contacted local media, and urged anyone with information to come forward. The story quickly gained traction, and tips began to pour in from across the region. Several theories emerged in the early stages of the investigation. One of the most prominent centered on the possibility of an abduction. With no signs of a struggle or forced entry, investigators considered the likelihood was described as being driven erratically, and some speculated that it could have been involved in transporting the women. Despite extensive efforts to locate the vehicle and its driver, this lead ultimately ran cold. Another chilling tip came from a waitress who claimed to have seen Susie and Stacy at a local diner in the early hours of June 7th. The women were reportedly accompanied by an unidentified man who appeared to be acting suspiciously. However, this report could not be substantiated, and the sightings remain unverified. Over the years, a variety of theories have emerged about what may have happened to the women, but no definitive answers have been found. Another theory that I'm going to dive into is the involvement of a serial killer. So, a theory posits that the women were victims of a serial killer based on their disappearance and the unsettling circumstances surrounding the case. During the early 1990s, there were other unsolved disappearances and murders in the Midwest, and some investigators speculated that these incidents might be connected. The theory gained traction as the disappearances of women in nearby areas seemed to share some similarities. The fact that the Springfield 3 vanished without a trace, leaving behind little evidence, led some to believe that they may have been targeted by a serial offender. However, no concrete links have ever been established between the Springfield 3 case and any other unsolved crimes. Additionally, no forensic evidence has definitively connected a serial killer to the case, and so the theory remains speculative. Over the years, various theories have emerged that suggest the disappearance may be tied to the personal lives of the three women. Some have speculated that one or more of the women were involved with individuals who might have had a motive for violence. At the time of their disappearance, some rumors circulated about troubled relationships, including potential issues with jealous ex-boyfriends or individuals with violent tendencies. However, there is little substantiated evidence linking these personal relationships to the abduction. Investigators explored this possibility but found no solid connections to any particular individual that would suggest the women's personal lives were a significant factor in their disappearance. Theories involving personal lives remain inconclusive and speculative, without solid proof to support them. One of the more specific theories involves a man named Todd, who was rumored to have been romantically interested in one of the women, particularly Stacy McCall. Some have speculated that a confrontation or violent altercation involving Todd could have led to the women's abduction. Todd was initially investigated as a potential suspect, and the investigators looked into his background and possible motives. However, after questioning him and examining his alibi, police ruled him out as a suspect. Despite this, the Todd theory continues to circulate in local gossip, though it remains unsupported by any hard evidence. A later theory suggests that someone close to the scene, perhaps a neighbor or acquaintance, may have had knowledge of the women's whereabouts and daily routines, making it easier to execute an abduction. This theory proposes that the abductor could have been familiar with the women's habits and knew where they would be at the time of the disappearance. An unidentified vehicle, like I said, was reportedly spotted in the area. However, no conclusive evidence has been found to support the theory of the van. In some discussions of the case, there has also anything that put them at risk. At the time, there were concerns about gang activity in certain parts of Springfield, and some believed that the disappearance might have been linked to local gang violence. However, again, there is no solid evidence to suggest that the women had any involvement with gangs. Lastly, a less likely theory suggests that the women may have disappeared voluntarily, possibly to escape from personal or external pressures. Some proponents of this theory argue that the women may have run away from home due to familial or social problems, though there is no evidence to support that this claim is true. This theory is unlikely considering the circumstances of their disappearance. There was no indication that the women were planning to leave or had any reason to disappear voluntarily. Additionally, their families and friends did not believe that they would willingly abandon their lives. The lack of evidence supporting this theory, coupled with the unusual nature of their disappearance, leads most investigators to dismiss it as improbable. The disappearance of the Springfield Three remains one of the most perplexing and tragic unsolved cases in American history. While numerous theories have emerged over the years, ranging from an abduction by an unknown assailant to gang involvement, none of them have provided definitive answers. The case continues to raise questions about the circumstances of the disappearance, and despite ongoing efforts by law enforcement and investigators, the truth remains elusive. Each theory, while plausible in some respects, lacks conclusive evidence to solve the case, leaving the families of Stacy and Susie